My daughter said I should stay in my place at the baby shower, so I did, and took with me the entire Layette I had bought. I've spent 68 years learning to smile when it hurts, to nod when I want to scream, to give when my hands are already empty. But sometimes, one single moment changes everything. One sentence can shatter decades of sacrifice. If you're watching this, subscribe to our channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The cream-colored tissue paper crinkled under my fingers as I arranged the last onesie in the gift basket. $3,000 worth of carefully selected baby items, each one chosen with love, each one a sacrifice from my modest widow's pension. "Mom, what are you doing back here? The guests are arriving." Caroline, my youngest, stood framed in the doorway. At 35, she was radiant in her 3rd month of pregnancy, her designer maternity dress hugging her barely visible bump. "Just finishing up the gift basket, sweetheart." I stood, smoothing my department store dress. "I found the most wonderful conversion crib at Pottery Barn. It'll grow with the baby through toddlerhood." Caroline's eyes flickered to the elaborate basket, then back to me with barely concealed impatience. "You didn't need to do all this. Eric and I have a registry." "I know, honey, I saw it. But these are special things I picked myself, and I had some ideas for the nursery." "Mom," her voice cut sharper than I expected. "We've hired an interior designer. It's all been planned professionally." The doorbell chimed, and she glanced over her shoulder. "That's probably Alessandra. She has 2 million followers and might feature the shower on her channel." She turned back to me. "Just bring the gifts out when you're ready. And please don't mention your nursing days or give advice about the baby." I nodded, lifting the heavy basket. In the living room, a photographer was setting up lights, while young women in flowing dresses air-kissed and posed with mocktails. I placed my basket on the designated gift table. Caroline was holding court near the custom backdrop with "Baby Bound" in gold script. "Caroline, where would you like me to sit?" Her smile tightened. "Why don't you help Denise in the kitchen? The caterer might need an extra hand with the cucumber sandwiches." "Actually," I said, "I thought I might share some nursery ideas. The conversion crib would look lovely against the bay window and—" Caroline's fingers closed around my wrist like a vice. She pulled me slightly aside, her smile never faltering for her audience, but her voice dropped to an icy whisper. "Mom, stay in your place. You're embarrassing me in front of people who matter to my career." The kitchen. Now. The room seemed to tilt. I felt every eye on us, saw the pitying glances. My cheeks burned, but decades of practice kept my expression pleasant. "You're right, dear," I said quietly. "I should stay in my place." With deliberate movements, I walked back to the gift table. I picked up my basket of carefully selected items, the organic cotton onesies, the hand-carved wooden rattle, the cashmere blanket, the conversion crib receipt. Caroline's eyes widened as I turned toward the door. "Mom?" Her voice carried a warning edge. I smiled at the room of strangers. "Excuse me, everyone. I seem to have forgotten my place. I'm going to find it now." I walked out, the heavy basket in my arms, and didn't look back even when I heard Caroline's artificial laugh and "Mothers, right?" following me down the hall. "Martha, have you seen Caroline's latest video?" Diane's voice came through my phone speaker, uncharacteristically hesitant. I wouldn't normally mention it, but what video? I balanced the phone while watering my peace lily. A week had passed since the baby shower, and Caroline hadn't called once. "Oh, honey, maybe you should see for yourself. It's on her channel." After hanging up, I stared at my ancient laptop, the one Robert had bought before his heart attack 5 years ago. The doorbell saved me from deciding. My grandson Jason stood on the porch, lanky at 16, with his father's height and my late husband's kind eyes. "Hey, Grandma." He hugged me. "Dad said you wanted help with your internet?" Just in time. I ushered him in. "Your Aunt Caroline has apparently posted something about me." Jason's smile faltered. "You don't follow her channels?" "Channels? Plural?" His discomfort was palpable as he sat at my kitchen table, opening his laptop. "Aunt Caroline has several platforms: Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I knew she did something with fashion online, but it's more than fashion now." He typed quickly. "She's a lifestyle influencer. 500,000 followers." The screen filled with my daughter's face, professionally made up. The video title made my stomach drop. "My boomer mom ruined my baby shower. Story time." "Jason, what is this?" He hesitated. "She has this segment called Stories of My Boomer Mom. It's kind of her thing." "Her thing?" "It gets a lot of views. He clicked reluctantly, and Caroline's perfectly projected voice filled my kitchen. You guys wouldn't believe what happened at my baby shower. My mom showed up with this enormous, tacky gift basket. When I politely suggested she help in the kitchen, she completely freaked out. She grabbed her gifts and stormed out in front of all my guests. I watched, numb, as my daughter described a temper tantrum I never threw, cruel words I never said. Jason, is this the only video like this? His silence was answer enough. Show me more. For the next hour, I watched my life rewritten. In Caroline's telling, I was controlling, technologically inept, embarrassing, intrusive. 2 years, Jason finally said, closing a video titled, My Mom Asked If My Husband Was One of Those Transgenders Because He Cooks. She's been doing this for 2 years? He nodded miserably. I tried to tell Dad it wasn't right, but he said you'd never see it anyway. And Michael and Jennifer? They know too? Everyone knows, Grandma. I'm sorry. I touched the screen, where Caroline was laughing at my supposed ignorance. This is how she sees me. I don't see you that way, Jason said fiercely. And it's wrong. I squeezed his hand. Thank you for showing me. Now, can you teach me how to use this computer properly? I think it's time I joined the digital age. It's just content, Mom, Michael said, swirling his scotch. Nobody takes it seriously. We sat in his gleaming kitchen, the neighborhood's lush landscaping visible through French doors. Michael, my oldest at 40, had always been the peacemaker. Your sister is mocking me publicly for profit, I said. You don't find that troubling? Jennifer sighed dramatically. Caroline has built a brand. Her followers expect certain content. And that content is humiliating your mother? You've never understood Caroline, Jennifer said. You weren't there for her, like you were for us. The accusation landed like a blow. What are you talking about? Jennifer and I had you full-time when we were little. Caroline had babysitters and Grandma Betty while you worked hospital shifts. Memories surfaced. Caroline at 3, clinging to my scrubs during midnight handoffs to my mother. Her small face pressed against the window when I left for night shifts. I was building a career to support us, I said. Your father and I made decisions together. Well, Caroline felt abandoned, Jennifer stated flatly. She's still processing that. By inventing stories about me? The restaurant next day was upscale, the kind that served tiny portions on enormous plates. Caroline arrived late with Eric, her producer husband trailing behind her tapping on his phone. Mom, her air kiss landed near my cheek. Didn't expect to see you here. Eric looked up from his screen. Your boomer mom doesn't understand contactless payment video, just hit 80K views. That never happened, I said quietly. Caroline rolled her eyes. It's called content creation, Mom. My followers love the generational humor. It's humiliation, not humor. Always the victim. Caroline stabbed at her salad. This is why I can't have real conversations with you. We're having one now, I insisted. I saw your baby shower video. That's not what happened. It's my narrative of the experience, she said coolly. My followers relate to dealing with difficult parents. Difficult. I spent $3,000 on gifts for my grandchild. Money isn't love, Mom, she snapped. You can't buy your way into my child's life after being an absent mother in mine. The table went silent. Michael studied his plate. Jennifer suddenly found her phone fascinating. I was working to support our family, I said. You were escaping us, she hissed. And now you want Mother of the Year because you bought some overpriced baby clothes? Eric glanced up. Actually, Caroline's Mother Issues content is our highest performing segment. You should be flattered by the attention, Martha. I stared at him, this stranger who saw my pain as a marketing opportunity. Then at my other children, silently complicit. I see, I said, placing my napkin beside my untouched food. Thank you for clarifying where we stand. My husband's study remained largely untouched since his death. Robert's reading glasses still perched on stacks of financial folders, his cardigan draped over the leather chair. I ran my fingers over his desk calendar, frozen on the date of his fatal heart attack. For 5 years, I'd avoided confronting these papers, these memories. Robert had always handled our finances, a traditional arrangement neither of us had questioned. Time to grow up, Martha, I muttered, pulling open the first drawer. Tax returns, insurance policies, investment statements. I separated them into piles, determined to understand my financial situation. 3 hours in, buried in a folder labeled Property Assets, I found it. Deed papers for a 5-acre parcel in Conway, New Hampshire, our dream plot. We'd purchased it in our 30s, planning to build a cabin for family summers, then retirement. Life intervened. Children, work, Robert's business struggles. I vaguely remembered property tax bills arriving yearly, automatically paid from Robert's separate account. But I'd never considered what had happened to the land itself. My phone rang. Jason, my technological lifeline. "Grandma, can I come over? Dad's being totally unreasonable about curfew." "Perfect timing," I said. "I need your internet skills." 20 minutes later, Jason whistled at the property tax assessment on his screen. "Grandma, do you know what this land is worth now?" I peered over his shoulder. "The last valuation I remember was maybe $60,000. Try $450,000. He scrolled through listings of neighboring properties. This area became a vacation spot. There's a golf resort being developed nearby. My breath caught. That can't be right. It is. He pulled up satellite images showing pristine forest surrounded by upscale development. You're sitting on something valuable. Robert never said. He might not have realized. This development is recent. Jason clicked through more pages. What are you going to do with it? I don't know. My mind raced with possibilities I'd never considered. Keep looking through these papers with me. In the bottom drawer, we found a bank statement for an account I'd never seen, containing $75,000. Clipped to it was a note in Robert's handwriting. For emergencies, and for you to care for yourself when I'm not here. Did Mom and Dad know about this? Jason asked. I don't think anyone does, I said slowly. Your grandfather was a private man. Jason leaned back. So you have significant assets nobody knows about. It appears so. He grinned. That's kind of badass, Grandma. I found myself laughing. A real laugh, not the placating chuckle I'd perfected for family gatherings. I suppose it is. What will you tell them? I considered the question carefully, remembering Caroline's monetized mockery, Jennifer's condescension, Michael's complicity. Nothing yet, I decided. I need time to think. You need to be methodical, Judith advised, stirring her coffee. At 70, my former nursing colleague had retired, earned a law degree for fun, and now dispensed legal advice to friends from her sunlit kitchen. Document everything. I nodded, opening the notebook I'd purchased, specifically for this purpose. Caroline has posted 27 videos about me. I've listed them with dates and false claims. Good. Judith adjusted her reading glasses. Now about your assets. The land especially needs protection. Protection from what? From well-meaning children who might decide your finances need managing. Her air quotes made her point clear. I've seen it too often with our age group. One concerned call about Mom's unusual behavior, and suddenly there's talk of cognitive assessment. I shivered despite the warm kitchen. They wouldn't. Judith's expression was kind but firm. Martha, your children think you're an aging widow who needs guidance. Finding out you're sitting on substantial assets might change their perspective. Over the next month, I followed Judith's roadmap. I updated my will with a reputable elder law attorney. I transferred Robert's separate account to my name. I documented the property value in New Hampshire. But transformation isn't just paperwork. It's also small daily rebellions. When Jennifer called last minute to drop off her kids because her sitter canceled, I said, I'm sorry, I have plans. Her stunned silence was followed by spluttered protests. But I held firm. When Michael asked to borrow $2,000 for a business opportunity, I replied, I'm not in a position to lend money right now. His surprise quickly morphed into concern about my finances. I enrolled in computer classes at the library. 3 times weekly, I sat among students decades younger, learning digital literacy from a patient instructor named Amir. I created proper email and social media accounts, though I remained a silent observer on Caroline's platforms. You're different lately, Michael observed during a family dinner I'd previously canceled twice to establish my boundaries. Is everything okay? I'm just taking care of myself, I replied, serving the meal I'd prepared, different from the comfort foods I usually made to please everyone. Mom's having a senior rebellion, Jennifer stage whispered to her husband. I smiled placidly. Perhaps I am. Caroline, scrolling through her phone, glanced up. Mom refused to babysit for Jennifer, twice, and she's taking computer classes. Her eyes narrowed. Are you dating someone? The table erupted in uncomfortable laughter. No, I said calmly. I'm just living my life. Later, Michael touched my arm. Seriously, Mom, you can talk to us if something's wrong. I looked at my oldest son, always the responsible one, and wondered how much of his concern was genuine. Nothing's wrong, I assured him. In fact, things are finally starting to feel right. Martha, I thought that was you. I turned from the park's bulletin board to find Eleanor Mason, elegant as ever in her walking shoes and windbreaker. We'd worked together at Memorial Hospital before she left nursing to produce educational documentaries. Eleanor, we embraced. What brings you to this part of town? The walking group, she gestured to a cluster of people stretching nearby, keeps me moving at 73. Join us? 3 miles later, catching our breath on a park bench, I found myself sharing my situation with Eleanor, Caroline's videos, my newfound assets, my cautious reinvention. Digital elder abuse, Eleanor said decisively. That's what we're calling it in the documentary world. Exploiting seniors for clicks, often by family members. Abuse seems strong, is it? Her eyebrow arched. If Caroline were taking your physical possessions and mocking you publicly, would you hesitate to call it abuse? I had no answer. I'd like your permission to connect you with someone, Eleanor continued. Philip Garner at Channel 8. He's producing a series on internet ethics and exploitation. I'm not ready for television, I said quickly. Not as an interview subject, as a consultant. Your perspective could help others. Later that week, searching for a birthday gift for Jason at Riverside Mall, I spotted a familiar figure in the upscale steakhouse, Eric, Caroline's husband, leaning intimately across a table toward a woman who definitely wasn't my pregnant daughter. I froze, watching as his hand covered hers, as she laughed and tossed sleek blonde hair. Their body language screamed romantic involvement. After my computer classes, I'd learned enough to know I should document this. I carefully positioned myself and used my phone's camera as Amir had taught me. The timestamp documented this Tuesday lunch date. Walking rapidly toward the exit, my heart pounded with conflicting emotions. Anger at Eric's betrayal, sadness for Caroline despite our strained relationship, uncertainty about my role in this discovery. My phone vibrated with a text from Jason. Grandma, check Aunt Caroline's new video. In my car, I found the latest Boomer Mom episode posted an hour earlier. My mother tried to take over my pregnancy, setting boundaries. Caroline's perfectly made-up face filled my screen. She's been acting so weird lately, you guys. My therapist says it's classic narcissistic response to not being the center of attention during my pregnancy. I stared at the evidence of 2 betrayals, the photos of Eric with his apparent mistress, the video of Caroline assassinating my character, and made a decision. That evening, Judith reviewed the consultation agreement from Eleanor's documentary friend. This looks legitimate, she confirmed. They're offering compensation for your expertise on digital family dynamics. No on-camera appearance required. And Caroline would never know? You'd be listed as anonymous consultant in credits. I signed the paper, taking my first step toward reclaiming my narrative. You can't be serious. Caroline's voice escalated through my kitchen. Take down my content? It's my life, my experience. It's defamation, I replied calmly, gesturing to the certified letter I'd sent her last week. And I'm asking you respectfully to remove videos that contain false statements about me. Caroline had arrived unannounced, pregnancy now visibly rounding her designer maternity wear, Eric conspicuously absent. My polite but firm request had unleashed 2 months of accumulated fury. Do you have any idea what my content schedule requires? The contracts I have with sponsors? This is my career, Mom. A career built on mocking me. It's not about you. It's relatable content about generational differences. Then why use my name? Why describe specific events that never happened? It's creative interpretation. Nobody cares about the exact truth. I care, I said quietly. And legally, so might a court. Her eyes widened. You would sue your own pregnant daughter? The doorbell interrupted her tirade. Michael and Jennifer filed in, Caroline having apparently summoned reinforcements. Mom, Michael began in his negotiator voice, Caroline called us. We need to talk about what's going on with you lately. What's going on? I said evenly. Is that I've asked Caroline to remove false content about me from her platforms. Jennifer perched on my couch arm. Mom, you don't understand how influencer marketing works. Caroline creates content her audience connects with by lying about me, by entertaining people, Michael corrected. Nobody believes these stories are literally true. Then why has a stranger at the grocery store asked me if I really tried to perform an exorcism on Caroline's smart refrigerator? I countered. An uncomfortable silence fell. Look, Caroline finally said, This is clearly coming from some place of confusion. Maybe we should talk about getting you some help. I'm not confused, I replied. I'm setting boundaries. Michael leaned forward. Mom, we're worried. First the baby shower incident, then canceling plans, refusing to help family. Now these legal threats. It's not like you. I reached for the folder I'd prepared. I've printed screenshots of all 27 videos containing false statements about me. If this content is as harmless as you claim, you won't mind if I share copies with your in-laws, your neighbors, and Eric's colleagues? The room went deadly quiet. You wouldn't, Caroline whispered. Why not? It's just entertainment, right? Nothing to be embarrassed about? Jennifer and Michael exchanged glances. Mom, Caroline's voice turned dangerously sweet. You realize if you do this, you'll never meet your grandchild? I won't have toxic people around my baby. The threat hung heavy in the air. 5 years ago, it would have devastated me. That's your choice, I said instead. I can't control your decisions, only my own. Caroline stood abruptly. I'm not listening to this. When you come to your senses, call me, she stormed out. Michael followed after an uncomfortable apology. Jennifer lingered. Mom, she said quietly, are you okay financially? Is that what this is about? Because we can help. I'm fine, Jennifer, I assured her. In every way. The Creekside community offers independent living with available care options as needs change, Jennifer said, sliding a glossy brochure across my kitchen table. It's perfect for your situation. I glanced at the pamphlet, photos of silver-haired couples playing golf, elegant dining rooms. My situation? Being alone in this big house. She gestured around my kitchen. It's so much maintenance. I manage fine. For now, she said significantly. But thinking ahead, I sipped my tea, noting how Jennifer's eyes catalogued my belongings, the antique china cabinet, the artwork Robert and I had collected. Have you discussed this with Michael and Caroline? I asked. We all agree it makes sense. Her casual inclusion of all confirmed my suspicions. Michael found several units near his neighborhood. How thoughtful. I kept my tone neutral. And what would happen to this house? We'd help you sell it, of course. The market's excellent right now. And the proceeds? Jennifer hesitated. Well, Creekside requires an entrance fee. The balance would be managed for your care needs. Managed by whom? Michael has a financial advisor. Very trustworthy. I see. I closed the brochure. I'll consider it. Jennifer left with the satisfied air of someone who'd completed an unpleasant but necessary task. I immediately called Jason. Can you come over? Bring your laptop. 20 minutes later, we huddled at my dining table. They're planning something, I told him, describing Jennifer's visit. I need to check my home's value. Jason's fingers flew across the keyboard. According to this, comparable homes in your neighborhood are selling for around $425,000. Combined with the New Hampshire property and Robert's account, my assets approached $950,000. Keep searching. See if Michael's financial advisor has any complaints. As Jason researched, I received a text from Michael. Mom, can we meet tomorrow? Important family discussion. The following day, I arrived at Michael's house to find all 3 of my children waiting. Caroline sat slightly apart, visibly pregnant, scrolling through her phone. Mom, Michael began, we're concerned about some of your recent behaviors and decisions. What behaviors specifically? Refusing family requests, threatening legal action, acting secretive. He exchanged glances with Jennifer. We're worried about your cognitive function. You think I'm becoming senile because I've set boundaries? I kept my voice steady despite my fury. Not senile, Jennifer jumped in, but possibly experiencing some early changes that affect judgment. Michael looked uncomfortable. Jennifer's husband suggested we consult Dr. Linden. He's a geriatric specialist. I already have a doctor, I said. Dr. Linden specializes in cognitive assessment, Jennifer explained, as if to a child. I noted Caroline's continued disinterest in her phone. Michael's discomfort suggested he wasn't fully committed to this plan. Let me understand, I said carefully, because I've asked Caroline to stop publicly mocking me, because I've declined to babysit without notice, because I've refused to lend money. You believe I'm mentally impaired? Mom, you're not yourself, Jennifer insisted. Actually, for the first time in decades, I am exactly myself. I opened my purse and withdrew a sealed envelope. I anticipated this conversation. Inside, you'll find the results of a comprehensive neurological assessment performed last week by Dr. Amelia Rivera, chief of neurology at Memorial Hospital. Their stunned expressions confirmed everything. Dr. Rivera found me to be cognitively intact with above-average function for my age group. She also documented this examination as a protective measure. The silence that followed was deafening. You knew, Jennifer finally said. I suspected. Jason overheard your conversation about having me evaluated. All eyes turned to Jason, who'd been silently watching from the doorway. You were planning to take control of my finances, I continued. To sell my house. We were trying to help, Michael said, looking genuinely distressed. Jennifer suggested you might need assistance. Jennifer? I turned to my daughter, whose face had hardened. You're being paranoid, she snapped, but her eyes betrayed her. Caroline finally looked up. This is ridiculous. I'm leaving. I have an appointment with my attorney this afternoon, I said, gathering my purse. Please don't contact me until you're ready to engage respectfully. You were right, Jason said, dropping his backpack in my kitchen. His face was drawn with strain unusual for his 16 years. They're going to try for guardianship. My hands stilled on the teapot. You're certain? He nodded miserably. Thanksgiving planning dinner at Aunt Jennifer's. They didn't know I could hear them from the game room. He pulled out his phone. I recorded parts of it. I listened to my children's voices, Jennifer leading the charge, Michael expressing doubts but being overruled, Caroline mostly quiet, except to agree that something has to be done about Mom. I'm sorry. Grandma, Jason whispered when the recording ended. I squeezed his hand. This isn't your burden. You've been incredibly brave. What will you do? I smiled, a real smile despite everything. Exactly what they don't expect. The next morning, I called my children one by one, inviting them to Thanksgiving dinner at my house. Traditional family gathering, I said cheerfully. I'm cooking everything. Their confusion at my apparent return to maternal normalcy was palpable, but none refused. The trap, as they saw it, was too perfect, a chance to observe my behavior in a familiar setting. On Thanksgiving Day, I rose at dawn to prepare a feast identical to every holiday meal I'd cooked for decades. Turkey with cornbread stuffing, sweet potato casserole, homemade rolls. They arrived in cautious waves, Michael and his family first, Jennifer and hers, finally Caroline and Eric. I greeted each with warm hugs, playing the role they expected. Dear old Mom, back to her predictable self. During dinner, I deliberately fumbled a simple story, watching Michael and Jennifer exchange glances. When I forgot the name of Jennifer's new cat, she practically radiated validation. Oh, I exclaimed halfway through dessert. I completely forgot cranberry sauce. How could I forget something so basic? Michael patted my hand. It's fine, Mom. Don't worry about it. His patronizing tone would have infuriated me weeks ago. Now it was just confirmation. After dinner, I accidentally used salt instead of sugar in Michael's coffee, apologizing profusely for my silly mistake. Each error reinforced their narrative while building mine. As they departed, Jennifer hugged me tightly. That was lovely, Mom. Just like old times. Next week? I suggested brightly. I found some old photo albums I'd love to go through with everyone. Perfect, Michael agreed, the eagerness in his eyes having nothing to do with photographs. I waved from the porch until the last car disappeared, then called Judith. It's happening, I told her. They're documenting supposed cognitive lapses, exactly as we predicted. Then it's time for phase 2, she replied. Are you ready? I looked around my home of 32 years, filled with memories both beautiful and painful. More than ready, I said. Let's end this. The private dining room at Westfield's restaurant gleamed with understated elegance. I'd arrived early to arrange everything precisely. Seating chart, legal documents discreetly placed in folders at each setting, my position at the head providing full view of every reaction. They arrived in predictable formation. Michael punctually professional, Jennifer fashionably late, Caroline and Eric last. Her pregnancy now days from term, his attention riveted to his phone as usual. Mom, Michael kissed my cheek. You're looking well. Thank you for coming, everyone. I gestured to the assigned seating. Please sit. Confusion flickered across their faces at the formal arrangement, but they complied. Only Jason, seated at my right hand, knew what was coming. Before we order, I began, I want to thank you all for joining me today. This meal is important. Mom, Jennifer leaned forward with practiced concern. Is everything okay? You seem different. I am different, I agreed. And no, everything is not okay, but it will be after today. I opened the leather portfolio before me, removing a stack of documents. 3 weeks ago, I underwent a comprehensive neurological assessment with Dr. Rivera at Memorial Hospital. I slid copies of the medical report toward each of my children. As you can see, I have no cognitive impairment whatsoever. Michael barely glanced at the report. Mom, no one is saying you're impaired. We're just concerned about my finances, I interrupted. My house? My ability to make decisions? Caroline sighed dramatically. Here we go with the paranoia again. I slid 3 more documents across the table, printouts of my children's text messages to each other, discussing guardianship proceedings and asset management. Jason recorded your Thanksgiving planning dinner, I said quietly, where you discussed having me declared incompetent. The stunned silence confirmed everything. That's illegal, Eric finally sputtered. Recording without consent. Washington is a one-party consent state, Jason said. I was part of the conversation, I continued. I've also documented Caroline's online exploitation. I passed her a flash drive. That contains all 27 videos where you've lied about me for profit. Caroline's face drained of color. You wouldn't sue your own daughter. I don't want to, I agreed, which is why I've prepared these instead. I distributed the final documents, 3 identical sets of papers outlining my conditions for moving forward. My terms, I explained. If you wish to have any relationship with me going forward, you will respect my boundaries. No more exploitation online. No more attempts to control my finances or living situation. Jennifer scanned the document, her expression hardening. This is ridiculous. We're family. Yes, and families should respect each other. I've scheduled sessions with Dr. Harriman, a family therapist, for anyone interested in rebuilding our relationship on healthier terms. Caroline hadn't touched her document. One protective hand curved around her belly. I can't believe you're doing this while I'm about to give birth. I'm sorry for the timing, I said sincerely, but this couldn't wait. I turned to her. Caroline, may I speak with you privately before you leave? She hesitated, then nodded curtly. The others departed in various states of shock and anger, Jason squeezing my hand supportively as he left. When we were alone, Caroline's defensive posture remained. What more could you possibly have to say? I pulled out my phone, hesitating. What I'm about to show you gives me no pleasure. I passed her the device, opened to photos of Eric with the blonde woman at Riverside Mall. Caroline stared at the images, her breathing shallow. When? She whispered. The first ones are from 2 months ago. The most recent, last week. She pushed the phone back toward me, eyes brimming. For a moment, I glimpsed the little girl who'd cried when I left for night shifts. Why show me this? Show me. To hurt me more? No, I said gently. Because you deserve the truth. What you do with it is your choice. The mountain air carried hints of pine and approaching autumn as I stood on the deck of my small cabin. Below, New Hampshire's white mountains stretched in crimson and gold tapestry. The valley where Robert and I had once dreamed, now partially realized. Coffee, Grandma? Jason appeared beside me, now 17 and taller than his father, balancing 2 mugs. Perfect timing. I accepted the mug, warming my hands against the October chill. 18 months had passed since the confrontation at Westfield's restaurant. 18 months of painful change and gradual healing. I'd sold my family home 4 months after that day, purchasing a comfortable condominium near downtown's cultural district, where I volunteered teaching digital literacy to seniors. The profit funded my retirement security and the down payment on this small, prefabricated cabin, built on a portion of the New Hampshire property after selling most of the acreage to a conservation trust. My phone chimed with a message from Michael. Arrived at hotel. Dinner still good for 6? Michael and Karen will be here soon, I told Jason. My relationship with Michael had slowly improved. After initially resisting, he joined me in family therapy. Our relationship was different now, more equal, less determined by maternal obligation. Jennifer maintained polite distance, sending holiday cards and occasional texts, but declining therapy. And Caroline? The doorbell interrupted my thoughts. Michael embraced me in the entryway. Mom, this place is amazing. Thank you for coming, I said. It means a lot to christen this place with family. Over dinner, conversation flowed more naturally than it had in years. Michael spoke of his work, Jason about college applications. As we cleared dishes, Michael said quietly, Caroline asked about you yesterday. My hand stilled on a plate. How is she? Managing? He hesitated. The divorce was finalized 3 months ago. She has full custody of Noah. After discovering Eric's affairs, Caroline had filed for divorce shortly before giving birth. The process had been messy, complicated by Eric's attempts to claim partial ownership of her online business. And her content, I asked carefully, changed completely. She rebranded as a single mom navigating divorce and new parenthood. No more boomer mom segments. I nodded, unsurprised. Caroline had been forced to confront authenticity in her own life. She started therapy, Michael added. Real therapy, not just for show. Her counselor suggested healing family relationships might be part of her recovery. Hope flickered, quickly tempered by experience. That's her journey to take when she's ready. Later, my phone chimed with a text from an unfamiliar number. It's Caroline. Would coffee next week be possible? I'll be in your area Tuesday. I showed Michael, who smiled cautiously. Progress? Perhaps? I typed a simple reply. Tuesday at 10. Riverfront Cafe. The following Tuesday, I arrived early, selecting a quiet corner table. When Caroline entered, I almost didn't recognize her. Gone was the perfectly styled influencer, replaced by a woman in simple jeans and sweater, hair pulled back, minimal makeup. Mom, she approached hesitantly, a baby carrier in one arm. Caroline. I stood, eyes drawn to the infant sleeping peacefully. Is this Noah? She nodded, carefully setting the carrier on an empty chair. He usually sleeps through coffee shops. We ordered, dancing around meaningful conversation until our drinks arrived. He has your eyes, I finally said, watching Noah's peaceful slumber. Everyone says that. She traced the rim of her mug. Mom, I don't know how to do this. Do what? This, talking to you after everything. I considered her, my youngest, always the most emotional, the most wounded. We start small, one conversation at a time. I was awful to you. Her voice cracked. The videos, the lies, using you for content. I wasn't the mother you needed, I acknowledged. I was building a career when you needed presence. That doesn't excuse what I did. She glanced at Noah. Having him has made me see things differently. Noah stirred, tiny fists stretching. Without thinking, I reached toward him. Would you like to hold him? Caroline asked. Are you sure? She nodded, carefully transferring him to my arms. His weight settled against me, familiar yet new. His eyes blinked open, regarding me with solemn curiosity. Hello, Noah, I whispered. I'm your grandmother. Caroline watched us, tears threatening. I'm trying to be better. For him. We all are, I said gently. It's the work of a lifetime. As Noah's tiny fingers wrapped around mine with surprising strength, I recognized this moment for what it was. Not reconciliation complete, but a beginning. A tiny bridge across the chasm we'd created together. Some distances can never fully close. Some wounds leave permanent scars. But sitting there with my daughter and her son, I understood that my greatest victory wasn't revenge or vindication. It was the freedom to be authentic at 69 years old, to love without surrendering myself, to extend grace without accepting abuse. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.